Tom Kim's one of the best young players in the game. He's won quite a lot on the PGA Tour and he seems to be in contention week in, week out. So we're going to look at his swing in depth today, see what he does so well, see what maybe he could improve to take him to the next level. So we've got down the line and face on. Now, first thing to note is just look how great his setup position is. He's got this neutral spine, arms hang nicely below his shoulders, nice bit of knee bend there. If we look from face on, you'll notice his feet are just wider than his hips. A little bit of foot flare, you'll see this with all the really good players. It just facilitates nice rotation through the hips. If we look at his grip, very, very neutral, just very, very plain sort of textbook setup. I love a lot of the things that Tom Kim's doing. So let's put a little line frame of reference on the butt there. Just love that setup position. So let's take him into takeaway. Let's see what he does here. So you can see nice and stable. Let's draw a line on his head actually. Nice and stable there. You'll see how the hips start to move back ever so slightly, gets that rotation. Just a lovely, lovely one-piece takeaway there. You'll note how that club head is nicely outside the hands here. I'll take him a couple more frames actually just to get in a more traditional takeaway position there. That's probably a little bit better there, where you can see that. You can actually see the 6-iron on that club there. You can see, look how textbook that is. That face angle matching his spine. Those hands are slightly inside the club head with the shaft just outside. Just very, very traditional one-piece takeaway. You'll note how that right arm's folded ever so slightly, a little bit of hip rotation. I just love that. Very, very textbook. If we look from face on, let's see, he's not unlike a lot of players. He's not got a lot of trigger moves. You'll normally see guys having a little bit of trigger. You can see how stable he keeps that head. Just starts to rotate. Ugh, I love that position. Rotate back nicely. You'll see he'll bump a little bit into this trail leg, just that subtle weight shift there, but doesn't move off the ball a lot. Not a lot of movement in this swing. Just a lovely, lovely position there. Nice amount of width. Very, very traditional one piece. You can see how the arm's just slightly folded there. I think it's fantastic, fantastic move. And you can see why he's obviously winning a lot. So let's bring him back a little bit further. This is where Tom gets a little bit more unique, I'd say. So if we bring him back, you'll see how the hips start to rotate a little bit more. But we'll see this very sort of unique position here where he's not got any sort of wrist set there. You see guys just having a subtle amount of wrist set here, but Tom just doesn't have any there. Very, very minimal wrist set, if at all. Very, very unique to his swing, which we'll talk about when he gets to the top of his swing, and potentially why he's not one of the longest guys out on tour. So let's bring him up. You see, I just love this body action. There's just not a lot of excess body movement up and down or anything there. Like, look how quiet that head stays on the way back. Just a little bit movement down, but not a huge amount there. It just seems to be all rotation through those hips and that torso, and he gets to the top. And this is where Tom's very, very unique position, I'd say. So let's bring him back up to the top on both there. So you can see his head's not had a huge amount of movement. I'm going to just take all those lines off so we can see clearly more the body action. You can see how that lead legs move towards the ball. He's got nice bit of hip tilt, nice bit of shoulder tilt. Very, very nice trail arm structure there. Very nice wrist position. It's just very, very textbook traditional in a lot of senses in that position there. He's got that nice spine tilt, nice bit of hip tilt. Very, very traditional, apart from obviously this angle where we can see a little bit more unique with that wrist position. You can see loads of width though, loads of width, nice amount of rotation through the thorax, through the hips. So I love that. I think this is where Tom probably struggles a little bit with distance. So you can see he's not got a huge amount of wrist set. I'd like him to probably be a little bit more wrist set there. But obviously this is a guy that's winning tour tour events, we change that, maybe he loses that. But I do think that if we were to change that wrist position at the top, or potentially in the downswing, we might see a little bit increase in club head speed. Not the longest guy, he can crank it up to 180, I've seen on some videos. Maybe he does this movement more with the wrist when he gets that extra club head speed. I would guess this because he's just losing a lot of speed there from those wrists, because he doesn't, if I show you in downswing, you'll see guys who have this wrist position then really increase the angle here. You can see he does a little bit, but not huge. You see guys like really long guys that don't have this wrist set, like say for instance John Ram, or then really crank up the lag on the downswing. He doesn't do that. So potentially just having a little bit more wrist set there gives the club head a little bit more distance to travel, potentially increasing his club head speed. Alternatively, could work on torquing the club a little bit more in the downswing. Personally, I think that that'd be a harder move, so I'd just like to see a little bit more wrist set from him there to get a little bit more speed, because he's not the longest guy on tour for somebody, especially a young player. But by the by, that's my opinion. Let's have a look at what he does so well. So you'll notice, again, I'll show you why he's not super long, because you'll see guys that do in the downswing, you'll really see a jump downwards. You can see how he does do that, how those hips, that pelvis starts to move down and to the left. Very sort of athletic, but you'd see guys having a little bit more down movement that are a little bit quicker, a la Rory, that you'll see much more drive down, but still a very athletic move. He's still cranking it out there, 170, 175, so he's not like he's short, but it's just one of those, the game's become a power game, so I'd like to see him probably a little bit longer to stay a little bit more relevant in majors potentially. But you see just a lovely action. If we look from down the line, let's see how he gets down. So you'll see that hip move there, that left hip moves out of the way very early. You'll see how quickly that left hip's moved and the club's hardly moved down there. You'll notice how it starts to shallow the club ever so slightly. You'll notice how that lead wrist starts to move towards flexion here. It's subtle amount, a few degrees, but that helps shut the club face and really shallow that club out. I love that position for Tom there, where his arms are really nicely in front of his body there. Gives him loads of room, loads of width there. It's a lot easier move. Some guys you'll see get those hands more behind the body there, and then they have to save it. So really nicely in front of him. It's just very textbook in terms of what he's doing. Hands, arms, nice out in front of his body again. Not a tremendous amount of lag, again contributing to the speed. But you'll see it's just very textbook. It's a very pretty golf swing, what I'd call. Arms stay nicely out in front of him. You can see why he's so consistent there. Again, you'd see some guys having a little bit more lag here, but very textbook. Let me just bring him through. You see that impact, got a nice little bit of arm bend there. Those hands are ahead ever so slightly of the ball. Let's bring him through to impact. Love that position where that right knee's moved towards the ball, that right foot just up off the ground. Very good motion. I think Tom will win a lot of events. I'd just like to see him a bit longer just for the modern day. Let's bring him through. You'll see nice bit of release there. Just very traditional move. You don't see this big sort of down move, and then you'd see a lot of guys with this pelvis now really ramp it upwards. You don't see that. Just more of a slidey sort of move through. Very traditional sort of Adam Scott fundamentals almost. And I love that position up onto the follow through. You'll see how his weight starts to move through to that left heel. Loads of width there, releases the club. Hands exit over that left shoulder there. Stays in posture beautifully and just holds that finish off. It's a really solid golf swing. There's not a huge deal here with Tom that I can see going wrong, to be honest with you. Now, the one caveat is that I'd just like to see him a little bit longer off the tee and maybe crank out those ball speeds. He has got it in him, but I just think to compete at the level that he is capable of with guys like Rory, Scotty Scheffler. He just needs to be pumping it a little bit more, and I think just lengthening his swing by having a little bit more wrist set would really, really help him. I wouldn't try and change his fundamentals in terms of driving up through the ball. He could do, but you start to see guys maybe lose it a little bit because there is such good fundamentals there. Very, very good golf swing. Not a lot of moving parts, and I do think Tom will continue winning. Like I say, if he can just get a little bit more length, this guy's going to win a lot of events.